Okay, so our first topic is what's called neutral spine, or basically postural alignment. So let's talk about this. When it comes to postural alignment, I'm gonna start standing and then I'm gonna move myself to the floor as it relates to Pilates, but actually as it relates in daily life. Now, when we stand, the ideal situation are going to be shoulders go up, back, and down, as if you're pressing your shoulder blades into your back pockets. When I did that, you notice how my chest lifted up. That's a good thing. But then at the same time, my ribs opened. So now I want you to contract your rib cage in ever so slightly so that now everything pulls in here. And now what this does is this produces our natural alignment in our spine. So at this point, the ears are going to land right over the shoulders, and the shoulders will land over the hips. The hips will land right over the feet, and this is your perfect posture. Couple of things to keep in mind. Remember when I told you about pulling in the rib cage? So here's a secret to pulling in the rib cage. If you can take your fingers and find that edge of your ribs and press your fingers underneath your ribs, you're not squeezing your rib cage in enough. Basically, once you contract your rib cage and the ribs will go in and slightly down, that actually unites with the abdominal muscle, and now it feels like there's no place to stick your fingers under. You feel like you have one sheet between your abdominal muscles and your ribs. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to pulling in from the rib cage. And in reality, that's the exact same thing when someone says pull in your abdominals. It should be coming from the rib cage as opposed to the navel. Now, taking these principles and moving to the floor. So as we lie down on the floor, we'll bring ourselves back. Now, the average person, maybe from looking at the phone too much, they tend to bring their head pretty far forward, shoulders will roll forward, and they'll sit on the mat like this. They'll try to flatten their back out. So now my hips are tilted up and their shoulders are rolled forward, and then their head doesn't really know where to go. So now it's about aligning this, and this is what we need to align for all of the exercises in a Pilates series. And the reality is this is the same alignment for weight training, for yoga, for anything else. We want to find it's called neutral spine and neutral alignment. So let's start here. Your head, remember the ears go over the shoulders, so you're gonna tuck your chin down slightly. Shoulders, they roll back, and sometimes you have to lift your shoulders up to press them back into the mat. Now when I did that, my chest went up into the air, right? Now again, the ribs are now open. I can stick my fingers underneath the ridge. So now I'm going to squeeze my rib cage in, and at the same time now, I'm going to focus on my pelvis, because when we lie down on the floor, we tend to tuck our hips under naturally because we think we want a flat back. But I'm going to talk about the spine in a second. So right now you're going to press your tailbone down. What I'd like you to do is take the base of your palm, place it on the upper ridge of your pelvis, and your fingertips down towards your pubic bone. That should be parallel to the floor. If you are tucking under, your pubic bone will go up in the air. So I want you to press down and push your pubic bone down. So now this is flat. Then double check your ribs. Are you pulling in from your ribs? And now whatever curvature you have underneath in your spine, that's yours. And it's protected because your pelvis is lined up and your abdominals are pulling in. So everything is protected. So right here with our shoulders back, guess what? We're in neutral spine. So now all the exercises in a Pilates series should always start with this in mind. All this right here. Shoulders back, rib cage in, pubic bone and the edge of your pelvis all parallel to the floor. Chin is down so that now your ears are over your shoulders, shoulders are over your hips, right? And that's your goal. So I'd like to say one more thing. Here's what I'd like you to envision when it comes to your spine. So your pelvis, think of your pelvis as a heart, and the V of the heart holds your sacrum. And your sacrum is like a puzzle piece. It's got to fit perfectly in the V. So if your pelvis is tilted one way or another, forward or back, right, it won't fit perfectly. So we have to line that up so now the sacrum fits perfectly. Now, from the sacrum, on top you have a flat part and you have a disc. Think of a disc as a jelly donut. I know it sounds strange, but just think of it something soft, or a piece of cotton maybe, right? And then on top of that, you have building blocks, and you have a disc and building blocks and a disc and building blocks. Now, they are designed to basically hold your natural curvature. So that natural curvature of our spine that we just discussed. When we have our natural curvature, our neutral spine, then all of the building blocks and discs are moving together beautifully. The challenge is when we decide, and I'll stand up for this one, when we decide to tuck our tailbone under and create a flat back, that is when we push those building blocks down against the jelly donut, and now we're not evenly placed on the disc. The idea is that we want to be evenly placed, even size on the disc. But if we push down too much on one side, we're going to force and strain the other side. This is how we get things like sciatica or a pinched nerve. So the goal here is neutral spine, because neutral spine is going to assure you that your discs and vertebrae are nice and evenly placed throughout the spine. So there's no stress or strain on the spine, and then from there you proceed with your movements.